Alex Benjamin, you are Director of Europe-Israel Public Affairs, but also you are also active in an organization called European Jewish Association, which is representing Jewish communities across Europe. What's your assessment of the result of the elections in France and the elections of Emmanuel Macron?
First of all, obviously there's a sense of relief at the result, but I think there's also a huge sense of complacency as well. When I look at what my friends are saying on social media, what I look about what's being spoken about in the papers is as if this huge victory has been achieved. For me, nothing could be further from the truth. Just as there was the same complacent reaction after Geert Wilders was defeated less than a couple of months ago in Holland, so we see a similar pattern in France. All this shows me is that French society is as polarized as ever. And when you have somebody like Macron, who should have been an all-encompassing candidate, who had the support of with the main socialists and the Conservatives effectively ruled out of the race, and he only managed 65% of the votes, and Marine Le Pen, a fascist ideologue from the far right, gets 30%. This is not an endorsement of the centre. This is not embedding the centre ground. For me, what concerns me is not what happens now after the election, but it's what happens at the next elections at the Elysee, where people would say, okay, so our candidate got defeated, let's make sure we get as many National Front people as we possibly can. There's talk of Marine starting her own party and dropping the Front National label. So nationalism has not been defeated in any way, shape, manner or form. In fact, ironically, I think it's like one of these horrible cartoon characters or things that you get from the nightmare. Every time you think you've defeated it and beaten it down, it keeps coming back stronger and harder than ever. So I think we always need to be vigilant.
And so you've seen that, in particular, Jews in Europe should be vigilant.
Should be more than vigilant. They should always be on their guard. You see, the problem is that a lot of these centrist parties, a lot of the parties, the middle of the road parties, for instance, let's look at what happened less than a couple of days ago. You have a party in Norway, a very centrist party called the Progressive Party. The Progressive Party. And the Progressive Party have come up saying that no child should be circumcised. Okay? So they're adopting some of the mantle of the, just as Theresa May effectively stole the mantle from UKIP and adopted a lot of rightist territory from them, so a lot of these centre parties, in a bid to stop being outflanked and being overtaken by this rising tide of populism, have adopted some populist language. And whenever that populist language starts to manifest itself, 9 times out of 10, the Jews are always caught in the crosshairs, whether we're talking about ritual slaughter, whether we're talking about Brit Miller, whether we're talking about our practices and beliefs, whether we're talking about the clothes that we choose to wear, the kippah, how we choose to identify ourselves. These are all things which are becoming increasingly under the spotlight, not just from the populist parties, not from the Marine Le Pens and the Geert Wilders, but increasingly from the middle ground as a means of shoring up support. And this is the most worrying thing in my perspective.
So what should Jewish organizations do to counter this phenomenon?
I mean, I think the most frustrating thing for me is, as somebody that represents a number of Jewish communities, is that we're not united enough, that we don't necessarily speak with one voice, that there are some people that say, oh, we're the Orthodox voice, or we're the Reform voice, or we're the Masorti voice, or we're the Haredi voice, whatever. At the end of the day, most people don't make these kind of differentiations that we make. We are all in this boat together, and the sooner we learn to operate and pull in the same direction and row in the same direction, the better it can be. So my call to Jewish organizations and Jewish entities in Europe is put aside what you think is important, whether you believe in the Reform view or the Orthodox view or the Conservative view. It doesn't matter, because other people don't make that distinction. What we need to do is ensure that we come together and speak with a unified voice and defend our common heritages and our values.
Alex Benjamin, thank you very much.